sounds as if though there's a connection between public health and social justice. Can you elaborate on that?
Absolutely. There's a couple things that I want to bring up around that. And I was having a conversation with somebody about that recently, where when we talk about racism as a public health crisis, it truly is. And there's this term that was newer to me called weathering, which is just this generational trauma and experience of poverty and the experience of our ancestors really that live with us now that actually leads to more stress in your life and poor health outcomes. And when we see the rates of people with diabetes or pre-diabetes, the minority populations that have these pre-existing conditions, that is a part of social and racial injustices. And so it absolutely is connected. And so when we're thinking of solutions, we have to think about how we're remedying these past injustices and building up a healthy next generation of our Black and brown people.
Yeah, no, that's really important. How would you say, so knowing that there's so many different people in Santa Cruz that have such differences of opinion, how do you make sure that everyone's voice is heard when you're in council?
I think the wonderful thing about Santa Cruz is that you have a lot of people who are interested in sharing their opinions with you. I welcome all input. I think ideally that is what creates sort of the ingredients for a great product, is that it's informed by all perspectives. I also feel there's people who are left out of the conversation, and so how are we able to engage those populations to have their voices heard? And if there's barriers such as childcare or having food available or you going to them, which is important, then that's what you do. And I think also, how do we use what I think has propelled us these past several months with COVID, other platforms to engage residents who may not have felt inclined to engage with their policymakers. So we hear, and I am open to hearing all voices, and I also want to actively seek to hear those that haven't necessarily had the place to come forward to us.
So how can people engage with you now?
Sure. Well, one of the things, as a council member, you can always email me that way, but also my website at martinewatkins.com, there's a form you can fill out to share your thoughts with me, or follow us on Facebook or Instagram at Martine for Santa Cruz City Council, and we'll have posts, and we want to hear your opinions. We're gonna have a series actually coming up, which will be really fun, where we're gonna interview just key leaders in our community to talk about what's been going on with their industry, how they've been able to kind of be resilient at this moment, and then what do they want to see moving forward post-COVID. So key leaders in education, supervisors, and we want to know what your thoughts are and who you'd like to hear from. So please, I ask that you do reach out, and together we can work on some of the big issues.
Can you share with us who your first guest is going to be?
Yes, actually, because I just got off the phone with him on my way over here. So my first guest will be actually Dr. Faris Sabah. He is our County Superintendent of Schools. He is going to be speaking with us for a short interview about just really what's on a lot of parents' minds. It's on my mind with 2 kids and homeschool and school and virtual school and work and all of that. Just really talking about how we're responding as an education entity and how we're going to continue to prioritize the health of our staff and our students and our community, but also work together to try to meet the needs of parents and childcare. It's a lot going on.
Welcome to Community Cafe. I'm Celeste Gutierrez. I'm sitting here with Santa Cruz's former mayor, current council member, candidate for Santa Cruz City Council. She grew up in Santa Cruz. She's a mother to 2 young, lovely daughters, wife of over 10 years to her loving husband, and senior community organizer focused on prevention. Welcome, Martine Watkins.
Thank you so much for having me. Hi, Celeste.
Hi, welcome to the show. So recently I read online that you're really interested in partnership and collaboration. Will you please share?
Sure. Well, I think you mentioned it in my title. My title at the County Office of Education is Senior Community Organizer. And in that title, it really says it all, that there's so much potential in working with other folks and partnering for solutions, co-creating solutions, bringing different resources to the table. And as you know, and the community knows, we have really complex issues impacting our city in this moment, but in general, around education, childcare, public health, housing affordability, houselessness, you name it, environmental change. And cities alone can't solve those topics. And in partnership, we can all co-create solutions for mutual benefit. And that's always been my approach in my profession and is still my approach in this position as well.
Thank you. So knowing that Santa Cruz is a coastal community, what are your plans in regards to the environment and sustainability?
I feel really grateful to have had some time to learn about some of the work that's happening in the city in regards to climate change and climate adaptation and mitigation. And one of the things that we know is climate solutions are health solutions. And with our existing work and the alignment of that to our health and all policies framework, we really have an opportunity to elevate our climate goals, to think about how we're reducing emissions, think about how we're building transit-oriented housing, thinking about walkable communities, getting people out of their cars, thinking about that for everybody in terms of equity. Also really trying to think about recovery and how are we wanting to come back better? How are we wanting to embrace a green economy, green jobs, and partnerships to accomplish that for green businesses? And I feel there's this sort of window of time where we can elevate a lot of our climate goals. And I'm really interested in pursuing that in the upcoming years as we're thinking of recovery.
So every time I hear you talk, you typically mention health and all policies. What does that mean?
I know. And so health and all policies is a framework that really just basically helps government identify ways to institutionalize what naturally is a healthy community. And so when you think about a place where you want to live in somewhere you can afford housing, access to open spaces and parks, somewhere where you can raise your children, and they have safe routes to school and quality education, good jobs, where you're thinking about you can get to healthy food stores, right? All of the characteristics of a community that is a desirable community is really one we're looking at for our healthy community. The health and all policies framework is really a way for government to say, we're gonna take considerations of health into our decisions. We're gonna look at equity. So how is health for everybody? And we're gonna think about sustainability and how are we designing our communities to be resilient, as we were previously talking about with climate change. And so the health and all policies is sort of the academic framework for what instinctually is our responsibility and role in creating a community that is desirable for all. So I feel really grateful, particularly in this moment, that we have health and all policies in place at the city, because it provides a really great foundation for us to build in these considerations of health and equity and sustainability in our decision making, as well as expanding our partners' responsibility for those as well. And those co-benefits and opportunities for leveraging resources kind of gets the first question around how do we work together to build the most healthy Santa Cruz.
Sounds super cool. And how would you say that like COVID-19 has impacted or changed your vision for the city of Santa Cruz?
I think, for me, COVID-19 has really, it's accelerated a lot of the things that we had going. And that's in some ways a really good thing in terms of how are we limiting transit and reducing carbon emissions? How are we looking at trying to elevate our ability to have more equity and access virtually? But who also is left behind is another element of COVID that we've seen, and the disparities between those who have and don't have, those who are on the front lines, those who are struggling to get internet connection, et cetera. So for me, there's a real pivotal moment in history for us to really transform some of the old ways of doing things. And I feel excited that we can do that in a way that embraces equity, that embraces building back better, and is really thinking about sustainability and climate change. And for me, I feel within this moment of COVID-19, as challenging as it is, it's also sort of a wake-up call to humanity to say, how do we evolve as a species and evolve better? And I don't think going back to the way it was is an option. I think we have to move forward in a way that's going to be better for everybody and provide more well-being and experience in a way that provides health for folks. So I feel really excited to be a part of the conversation as we're thinking about some of this transformative change.
And I know that both you and your husband work. How has COVID-19 impacted your childcare? I know you have 2 young daughters, so.
I do. Like so many families, it's sort of day by day. We have our moments where, we have a good flow going, and other times where you might just see like a kid run in and have a need. And, thankfully we have the privilege of being able to work from home, and my husband's a teacher and he gets the summers off, and the girls have an opportunity to really spend time. And I also, as a parent, just being with them, even if it's, working and, but being home with them and seeing them and spending time with them has really been a blessing as well. It's hard day by day. It's hard. So right now it's probably caught me on a good day because, we're still sort of in the summer mode, but when school starts back up again, things get busy and you're just trying to manage it. And I know so many parents are in the same boat as I am, and we are. So we stand with you.
Is there anything else you'd like to share with Santa Cruz residents?
The thing I guess I would say is how impressed I am by Santa Cruz residents. One of the things that is difficult about the shelter in place is not being able to connect with everybody and seeing you all and experiencing all of the fabulous things that happen in our community, all the events and the celebrations and the services and the nonprofit work and businesses and so on. And to be able to connect with you. I do want you to know, though, however, you're welcome to please stay in touch with me, even if it's virtually. We'll find ways to connect, and hopefully at a soon moment we'll have the ability to be together in person. The other thing I would just say is I have really been so grateful to have represented you these past 4 years, and hope to represent you for another 4.
How are people able to connect with you virtually?
Yeah, people can actually go to my website at www.martinewatkins.com, and there's more information about email, contact, etc. You can also find me on Facebook at Martine for City Council, or Instagram at Martine Watkins for Santa Cruz City Council as well, if you're on social media. And of course, welcome any emails and connection that way.
Thank you. Here's a short segment with a few questions from Evie.
Hi, I'm Evie, and I'll be introducing and interviewing my mom, Martine Watkins. How will you be helping our city?
I want to help our city be healthy, be equitable, which means meeting people where they are and those needs that they may have, and be sustainable, which means that it's a city that your generation will inherit in a way that's healthy and thriving.
How will you be helping the schools in coronavirus?
I work in education, so I will continue to bridge the partnership between the city, our resources, our needs, our residents' needs, and our educational partners as we move forward with some of the challenges with COVID-19.
Awesome. So I know how you were in on the health and non-policies. That must be helpful during this time.
I feel so proud that we have health and all policies in place, because what that does is lay a foundation for us as policymakers to think about the health of our community. And the health of our community means you have a place to live, that your kids have a quality education, that you have safe parks to go to, safe streets to ride your bike and walk on, that there's opportunity for you to engage with friends and residents, that we're thinking about climate change and how are we planning for that, and how are we meeting people where they are. So the Health and All Policies framework really sets the tone for us, and I will continue to press that as I continue another 4 years on City Council.
Awesome. Okay, so what will you be doing in the next 4 years that is new, and what will you be doing that you started last term, or you're going to keep doing next term?
Okay, Health and All Policies for sure. really looking about like implementing that. Like, how are we training on equity? How are we putting information into our agenda reports? How are we partnering and engaging the community? So really moving forward with what we outlined as our priority areas for health and all policies is definitely on my top of the list.
Yes.
Also, thinking about some of the systems that weren't working for folks, thinking about some of the changes we were seeing now and how accelerated they've been with COVID-19, embracing that sometimes remote working can be a good thing for our environment, for example. Embracing some of the changes that we're seeing with automation of our jobs. But how are we preparing folks for new employment? How are we designing our communities in a way that is informed by our past, is informed by this moment in history with COVID-19, but is also really thinking about what the future is going to hold for you and your generation?
I have 3 more questions.
Okay.
So one of them is, I know the saying, the customer is always right. Obviously that's not true, but they say it is. Is it true in city like like your job? Is that kind of true? You have to have the city's okay to go with something.
I feel like what that question gets at is, are you hearing the voices of our residents?
Yes.
And to them, they're right. And everybody has different opinions, and our job as policymakers is to take that information and do the best we can to design policies that are informed by our community's needs.
Okay, so you're letting a little girl interview you. So that shows you really think that more than just the adults and like all ages of your city is supposed to have help, not just people your age, more different ages, old and young.
Absolutely. And I know that our kids like you can't vote, but
Sucks.
you have a voice and you are our residents and your voice is critical, and everything we do as policymakers has to prioritize the impact that has on you as children and your generation. And honestly, Evie, you're my motivation for wanting to move forward. You and your sister and your generation and our kids. You depend on good leadership,
Yes.
and that's why I want to continue to serve.
So during coronavirus, I've been hearing something that you'll be doing a show, and you'll be doing it soon. You're starting. This is the first one.
Yeah. So I will, because I want to respect people's health. We're going to try to hear from folks virtually, and we're going to have an ongoing series over the next several weeks to hear their concerns and to come up with video footage and partners to meet with us to help answer some of their questions. So if you're interested in participating or sharing your thoughts or watching, please visit www.martinewatkins.com, or you can follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Martine for City Council.
Awesome. I give her an okay. You should too.
Thank you.
Welcome back to our community cafe. I'm sitting here with Martine Watkins.
There's a couple of pictures that are going to be shown. The first picture is, it looks like it's a picture of you with the shirt that says anniversary of 100 years. Can you share a little bit about that?
So I love this shirt because it celebrates that women have had the right to vote for 100 years. And I remind myself sometimes when I get frustrated about some of the things that are like, what? Like, you know, why is it this way? And we have a long way to go, but we have to celebrate where we've been and those that have trailblazed before us. And a lot of incredible women and supporters got women the right to vote, and it's been now 100 years. So 2020 marks that moment, and more than ever, we need our population to vote. We need our young people to vote, and to vote their values, and to know that they are the democracy. And so, yeah, that's what that shirt's about.
And the next picture is a picture of you at the Conference of Mayors.
Yeah. So I feel really lucky. When I was mayor in my term, although the meetings were hard, I would say, and long, I got to go out and experience the community, and I got to go and travel to learn from other mayors and other jurisdictions throughout our nation, hear best practices and innovation, age-friendly cities, and just really cool things that you can do at local government. And I was able to go in the January of my term as mayor at the very beginning, and got to just hear from some of the presidential hopefuls, to smaller cities, to larger cities, and really talking about coastal cities. It was a really great experience. So got to be in our nation's capital. It was great.
It looks cool. And the next picture is a picture of you with the mayor of Richmond.
Yes. And that also is the sort of the June version of the January conference I went to, where we vote on resolutions for cities to bring forward to Congress so that they know how they can support our cities. And the mayor of Richmond, along with other mayors throughout coastal communities, have signed on to ask our legislators to support them in combating climate change. And so the mayor of Richmond and I, as well as others, were there to advocate for our coastal cities and advocate for support as we address climate change and the impact in our regions.
And the next picture, it looks like it's a picture of you and your family all wearing masks.
Yes. I think wear your mask, and we have really wonderful people who know how to sew. My mom thinks that skipped a generation. I could do a few things, but anyhow, our wonderful friend Maddie brought those over, and she made us all masks, and one for Brandon and me and Evie and Winnie, and appropriate sizes. So we're just getting used to wearing our masks. So we're just getting more comfortable, and if we're not, we keep our social distance like we're doing here.
And the last one, you mentioned it earlier, it's you out on a boat, you and your family?
Yeah, just fishing and experiencing. I mean, it's tight. It's a small boat. It's like the safety boat for the big boats, but it gets us out there safely, and catching fish and sharing it with neighbors and friends, and it's been really fun. Yeah.
Is there anything else you'd like to share with the audience?
I mean, I think right now we have this really unique opportunity to, really transform our systems. And I hope that, although I recognize that a lot of these transformations need to take place at the state and federal level, and I'll advocate for that type of transformation, but I hope that at the local level, we can really innovate and lead in that way, and look at addressing some of the long emergencies of racism, of poverty here, and the impact, actually the international impact of poverty has globally, since we're so interconnected now, but also really building Santa Cruz for the next generation. And we know we're vulnerable as a coastal city to climate change and big storms and our aging infrastructure and sea level rise, and how do we create green walkable cities that we're thinking of a green economy. And it's going to be really tough times ahead in terms of the economic impacts and the challenges. And one of the things that I think, in our conversations that we've had about childcare, for example, it's like, childcare is always, having worked in childcare for now, or working with the childcare providers for several years, it's always been this uphill battle because it's been underinvested as a nation. It's been the woman's issue. It's been the family's issue. It's your individual issue. But what COVID has shown is that childcare is a societal issue. And if our teachers, our essential workers, our water infrastructure workers that give us clean drinking water, the police, fire, anybody who is serving our key elements of our society, if they don't have childcare, it's a societal issue. And so it's an opportunity to really reinvent and reinvest in a way that we haven't done in the past. So that's what encourages me and keeps me optimistic. I'm already kind of an optimistic person, but I'm really hopeful we can transform our systems so that they're better for everybody. So I'm excited.
Yeah, we're excited too. I know you have two children. How have you been? How has that been with COVID?
I was just saying it's been actually a bit of a blessing. I was saying working and being on council for these past 4 years has been really busy, and I try to be present when I'm with my girls, and I'm also out of the house a lot. And so these past several months have been a blessing in that we get to spend time together. That said, it's also been days where it's really hard because you have your work or your Zoom meetings, and then they have their school stuff, and then you're trying to connect them to their computer, and our 5-year-old still needs help with that, and our almost 10-year-old, is awesome, and she's got a lot going on. And so honestly, it's like a day by day thing. I think by the end of the school year last year, though, I was like, please, just don't leave the house zone, you know?
Yeah. What has been your like favorite or your go-to activity this summer with your children?
Yeah, it's actually been beautiful to see our oldest daughter and our youngest daughter really blossom, and it's mainly with water sports, I have to say. My husband surfs, Brandon's a surfer, and I always was comfortable in the water, haven't surfed, and he's been getting the girls out surfing almost every day. They go to Cowell's, they've been going to other places now. Our oldest is just a little ripper out there, and the little one jumps up with him on the same board. She's 5, and I'll get out there when I can. And I stood up a couple times without being pushed into a wave, so that was really fun. And fishing, we look like a little inflatable boat, so just going out and fishing and just like seeing Santa Cruz from the ocean is such a gift, and I feel really blessed to experience that. I won't bait my hook, but I'll I'll do some fishing. And then, you know, my little one's learning how to swim, and, you know, just we live in a beautiful place, so we're really blessed for our health and just the experience we have here.
So thank you for watching Community Cafe. I'm Celeste Gutierrez. Please look forward to the next episode with Dr. Farah Sabat, and remember to vote in November.
Thank you.
We have been doing fishing. Actually, my oldest daughter is the biggest fisherwoman imaginable. She went out on the second time that we went fishing for 12 hours and caught as many fish as she could. She loves it. And we live in such a remarkable place. We have an opportunity to view our beautiful city from the ocean, and we have a small little dinghy inflatable boat that's really fun, and it's really nice to have time to go out and enjoy our natural beauty and time with our families. So I wanted to share that picture too.
And then the other picture is you're outside with your family.
Yeah, it's really hard to sometimes get the family together to do family pictures, and we finally caught one with Winnie giving us a little smile. That's our youngest. And it's nice to capture these moments together.
And the last picture I see here is a picture of you and your family inside.
Yeah, same kind of a day and opportunity for us just to be together and spend time together. And it's really neat to see the pictures that we took back in 2016 for the campaign. We haven't really had a lot of family pictures since then. And then now, and just, you know, my Winnie was 2 and my oldest was 6. And it's just how much children change in a few years. So it's really neat to see them actually side by side. Maybe for a future show, we could show those pictures too.
I'm Celeste Gutierrez. This is Community Cafe. And I would like to remind everyone again to please vote in November.
Thank you for having me.